ET-Edge, an initiative of the Economic Times, has been founded to empower multiple sectors, industries, and segments through discussions as these, panel discussions that we will host during the day. And it is thanks to an initiative of the entire team and, of course, leaders of the industries like yourselves. An engaging day indeed, and that is what we're looking forward to. And to present the opening remarks, may I have the pleasure of inviting on stage Mr. Abhishek Somani, Joint Managing Director, Somani Ceramics, with over 18 years of experience in the ceramic industry and the international marketing. Let's put our hands together for a man who truly enjoys taking his step further and the country's. Mr. Somani.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I acknowledge the presence of all the eminent personalities, important personalities amongst us. So I think this knowledge series was to bring a little more focus onto this, where hopefully the new government, while it's talking of the 100 smart cities, which is the current smart cities becoming smarter, or rather current cities becoming smarter, we would, with the Delhi-Mumbai corridor and the various other corridors which they are planning and are already getting off ground, I think there would be a lot of small satellite and big cities coming up around the country. We've seen with the Delhi Metro being right under our nose here, when you give a world-class infrastructure to the same people whom we keep accusing of, spitting on each and every wall and urinating on each and every wall, the same citizens, when they're given a world-class infrastructure, they're proud of it. And the minute you're proud of it, you would then maintain it. So therefore, it is up to us with this new government, with a completely new leaf, hopefully India is turning. I am very positive. We should be able to come together and turn a new leaf ourselves and be proud of what we manufacture, be it what we do, which is tiles, be it what you do, which is your drawings, your architecture, be it the builders, what they produce. And this endeavor of this ET-Edge summit, which we are partnering with, should be able to bring certain clarity. And what better media than ET and Times of India to carry this forward, this message forward as to whatever we discuss in this day, also the other days we've had in the satellite cities, the smaller cities across the West last year and across North this year. So whatever we discussed, please carry it forward to the policy makers so that we definitely get proud of what we're doing and get some more traction off ground. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, sir. Very truly said. Now, let me call upon the chairperson of the advisory board of the A&D Summit 2014. Let's put our hands together as I invite on stage Mr. Dikshu K. Kukreja, proprietor, CP Kukreja Architects. Let's put our hands together as I welcome him on stage.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here. I think it's the right time to reflect on where does design stand, where does architecture stand, and the subject that I'm going to be talking about today, which is part of this whole summit, is about, as we move forward, we need to just look back at tradition, and we need to introspect and see that while there is always a surge towards trying to do something new, in that enthusiasm, how do we want to react towards tradition? So really what I'm going to be talking about today is blending tradition with modernity. Baudelaire, in his essay, The Painter of Modern Life, conceives the modern as the fleeting, the contingent. He even goes on to say that it is one half of the art, the other being completely eternal and immutable. The very words describing modern thus takes our conscious to perceive the social and intellectual situation of the time when the very concept of the modern was born. Modernity essentially draws its advent from questioning the status quo, and the necessity of such a situation arose from the inquiry of the difference between the permanent and the semi-permanent. To be precise, modernity was the movement which was aimed at searching for the real roots And modern architecture was about obviously searching the real roots of architecture. And it also revolved around looking at the aspect of transformation, which is precisely what we are looking at today, where the changes need to take place. The real roots, as the case may be, is considered the circle of life, which we popularly call tradition. Tradition is conceived by many as a practice, or even more than a practice, a worship of what has existed over the years, decades, centuries. Tradition is considered immortal and hence holds a timeless value to society. What we are going to delve into and discuss today is going to be about tradition and modernity in contemporary practice. But my thoughts on that remain that it is not always that we have to choose between one or the other. Many times people go about talking about architectural styles. And for me, architectural style shall always be something which is redundant, because we are not talking about fashion here. We are talking about buildings which are supposed to be timeless, which remain for posterity, as you have seen so many examples from history here before us. So for us, it's not about choosing an architectural style. It's not about choosing modernity over tradition or one way or the other way around, but it's really about blending the two, appreciating the two, and then thinking about how we want to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir, for setting the context. Moving on. Today, India is known for its heritage. Yes, for sure. And next, I'm going to call upon somebody who truly takes passion in what he's going to present, clubbing India's heritage with that of the modern times, taking clues from the traditional. Let's put our hands together as I invite on stage our chief guest of the day, Mr. Karan Grover, founder Karan Grover and Associates. He has single-handedly won India's nomination for UNESCO's World Heritage Site status for Champaign Pavagadh in 2004 after a 22-year-long old campaign. Let's welcome on stage Mr. Grover.
Thank you, Economic Times. Thank you, Somani. Thank you to all of you who are here this morning. I have been given a topic which I have felt for a long time but never really spoken about, and that is heritage, India's best brand. Redefining culture, respecting tradition, and rebranding timelessness. Today we are here to discuss a country that is more than 5,500 years old, at least. India today is a wealth of knowledge and experience. Our culture extends back so far that we are constantly rewriting our history through rediscovering our past. Within this melting pot of tradition and values, and this is a word I'm going to keep coming back to, values, we discover just how much we can learn from our culture and heritage. That is what defines you, and that is what defines me. That is our DNA. Robert Peters has said, design creates culture, culture shapes values, values determine the future, not architecture, values of the architecture that you are going to build. It's easy to say that a building is revered because it's so timeless. But what does timeless actually mean in terms of all the design decisions and physical results involved with a building? Timeless design is relevant for several generations. It outlasts trends, fashion statements, and society's infatuation with style. It is made of materials and methods that will last a century or more. With respect to India, what is pretty much known by now is that our knowledge systems are a sum total of a wide range of pursuits, vastly differing convictions, widely divergent customs and languages, and a veritable feast of viewpoints. We designed in our country in the manner of aesthetic function, in a collective approach that followed the traditions of our society and the morals of our people. Our clothing was simple but vibrant and sophisticated. Our buildings were reminiscent yet functional. and our interiors, although old-fashioned, spoke to us in a resilient, refined manner. This style has brought out the character of our cities, homes, and our lives, and has accentuated the heritage of our cultural design. As this nation moves into the future towards its 100 smart cities, we can still see these time-tested designs present in our everyday lives. Modern designers, to suit our modern palettes, have redeveloped many of them, but the essence of their simplicity and the longevity of their history echoes through them through eternity, and to use the word that Dikshu and Rahul have been using, timelessness. Modern designers understand our traditions, but also our modern personalities, and in many ways fuse the community-centric ways of our past with the designer's social-centric ways of our future. You must remember this. Our ancestors believed that it was better to live with the land and not on it. Thank you very much.
It's now time for me to invite all of you for first panel discussion of the day, Innovation and Contemporaneity Through Tradition and Modernity, a Marriage of the Opposites.
So to start with you, Sunita, what are your thoughts on this aspect of tradition, modernity? Are they actually bipolar, or is there something that brings them together? And is this tradition really something we need to shake ourselves from if we need to go forward, or is it something which is a springboard for us to move on to new designs?
Well, I think, all architecture and design really reflects the spirit of an age, what the Germans call Zeitgeist. So this generation will reflect what they think is the spirit of this particular age. Having said that, in India we are in a unique sort of position because we have, we had other influences till we attained independence. So much of architecture in our larger metropolitan cities really was dictated by that.
Right.
Slowly by slowly, we have been negating our own vernacular idioms of architecture and also not paying attention to our old building techniques. Now, having said that, contemporary and modern architecture cannot exist in a vacuum in India. It is part of a global scene, so it must move with that. But I think great modern architecture is truly made when you have your own very strong moorings in your own culture.
That's interesting. And when you say that, where are buildings that we have designed which stand the test of time, which are symbols of a modern India? They are very, very few and far between.
Actually, they don't, because you see, as we were discussing earlier, architecture is also as good as one's clients. What does a client want? Either he wants a flat that is in Manhattan, or he wants a hacienda which is in Mexico or Spain. So where are the clients that are asking for? I mean, what is wrong with doing an amazing Haveli, but modernizing it, transforming it? Because architecture has to be transformative. You
Absolutely.
cannot.
Rahul, I'd like you have a practice, well-accomplished practice. You're dealing with clients across different parts of the country. Yeah. What are your thoughts on what Sunita just mentioned about, that it's as good as it gets when it comes to, what the client is also looking for?
So I think one really needs to struggle with this. And what do clients really want? Clients, at the end of the day, depending on what you're building, supposing it's a school, and we say, okay, what is the function of this building? And we can look at what it's been traditionally and what it needs to be as a modern school, but how, I think the quality of an architect differs with how well he or she defines that quest. I think Karan does it beautifully more than anybody else. He weaves a story around it. So what is the quest? What is the function? Are we trying to make children more intelligent here? Can a building do that? I believe it can. So can I design for intelligence? Can I design for friendships? Can I design a building where bullying is less? So how do we define our function? What is our quest? I think from that design, deeper design emerges. So people perform better when buildings perform better.
I don't agree with Sunita when she says that it is because of our clients that we don't make, she's used the word iconic buildings. I agree with Rahul that it's not important to have iconic buildings, but we can't blame the client. I think we have to just blame ourselves. We were doing a university the other day, and we discovered that we were going to produce 3,000 tons of carbon emission. So I said to my client, very distinguished client, I said, IS officer, I said, listen, do you know anything about carbon emissions? He said, no. And I talked to him about that. And he said, but listen, you're supposed to design my university. I said, just listen to my story. I need 23 acres of the 66. Can I make a forest for 100 years? That will offset the carbon. You'll get the credit for being the first chancellor in the country to have a university which is a carbon-free construct. He bought the story. So coming back to what Rahul said, I think it is how you position this.
So Jogi, I'm going to ask you here, since you come from the developer fraternity, do your ears also spring up when you hear about the first slide being how much cost saving is there, or is there more towards what architecture is going to shape up in your project?
For a developer, we spend based on the build-up area. What I get is based on saleable area. What matters to my client is the most is what carpet area he is getting and how efficient is his building in terms of air conditioning efficiency. I should be able to tell my client, tenant, that your air conditioning cost is going to be 50% compared to my neighboring building. So we are open to discussions, open to ideas. It helps us sell better if you design and give us better designed buildings. Thank you.
But better design buildings also have to do with better technologies and better materials. And since Abhishek, you are from an allied industry, how do you go about leading your company and your thought processes on this?
So I think I go back to what Rahul said. A lot of the time the client runs out of budget and a lot of technology which can be used to save energy, to various other green initiatives which the tile industry is part of my presentation later in the day. There is a host of products available, but I think it's between the client brief and the builder. I think clearly we need to be far more responsible and bring in those heritage buildings which were so efficient, like Mr. Grover just said in the morning.
In that sense, this whole zest for trying to be innovative or trying to be contemporary, these words, are we really misunderstanding them? So is this whole quest for innovation and contemporaneity going somewhere astray?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's been misunderstood. Just one point I just want to underline. We spoke about the client brief. I think most clients don't know what they want. They know what they want in terms of profits. They know what they want to sell, but it's the architect's job to, as Karan does extremely well, reinterpret the brief, raise the brief to a whole other level, create a story that the client then loves to tell his friends that, you know, this is what I'm doing. What you spoke about is so-called innovation and contemporary. See, innovation makes sense only when it is needed. So if it's not needed, then there's no need to innovate. If something is working and has worked well, extremely well, you don't need to fix it. Innovation really comes in when you're trying to do more and you don't have more to do it with. So you're trying to do more with less. That's when you need to innovate.
Do we already have such a vast repertoire of design, of tradition, of skills that we can, which are at our disposal? So, but where and how can we choose, Sunita, these traditional elements that are there? When I say elements, I'm not just saying design elements. I'm talking about traditional skills. I'm talking about craftsmanship. All these things which are in abundance.
See, every age has to innovate. You just cannot live on your past. So, but what you take out of your own font of tradition and move forward with that, that is, I think, what creates good design and good architecture.
True, that's true. Karan, your thoughts?
To come back to a first question you raised, Dikshu, that are we getting confused? Is this very complicated? You know, what is innovation? Is there tradition and modernity? You know, these words they had in the West because they had modernism, then they had postmodernism, they got bored, they had deconstructivism, they had all these isms. We didn't have that because it was a way of life. We had parampara, which is actually the continuing of tradition. I'm just saying that you learn, you imbibe, and you experiment, you re-understand, you add what you've learned, you improve on what you have.
And today for a common man, what's done in the West is perhaps the right solution. If we look at the developer scenario, the private real estate that is going on, it promises about building Californias and Ibizas and all these kind of glamorous places for you right here in Noida and Gurgaon. So from that point of view, maybe I'll ask Jogi to comment on where do the developers look at positioning themselves on these things.
The next 10 years to 15 years for this country, the big thing which is required for this country and which is going to happen in this country is construction of about 30 million houses, which are very small, 400 to 600 square foot size houses. 30 million. If I ask how many of this the architects sitting here ever thought of working on a design which is efficiently I can use in Bulandshahr or Moradabad, I have not seen any efficient drawing so far. We have launched our first project in Bulandshahr at less than 10 lakh rupees. People are living there. But again, the challenge is we are not getting efficient drawings. This is what the industry is telling us. We need designs which can be used in Gurgaon for making houses of 400, 500 square foot sizes, which is 7-story height. So that the cost has to be very efficient. The people has to live in an efficient way. The design, the houses which came in the nearby cities, they are not good. I don't want to replicate those houses in this country. So the opportunity is there. That is where the focus of most of the developers are shifting. And I request all of you here to understand the need and the opportunity, and I think.
So Jogi, what you're saying is there is a lot of development that needs to take place in the years to come, and then there is this thought about values of design being shown or reflected in that new urban habitat which has to come up. We are really running out of time, so I think what we'll do here is just have very quick closing comments or thoughts from each one of you.
One other thing that Karan spoke about that I wrote down, I think something about invasions and about culture in India, and that I feel all invasions are only of benefit because they're invasion of ideas. And now architects are really worried about the invasion of foreign firms coming in, and it's scary, but it will only be to our benefit.
I agree with you. We are such an assimilative society, and that is to our own great benefit. And yet, you know, in India, our culture is so deep that our past, as they say, is constantly passing us by. So why don't we take from it and innovate? We've always been great innovators. So I think that spirit of innovation is continuing and will continue. I think there's just a little period of pause that we are going through because we also a society in flux.
For every private industrialist, be it is tile, developer, or any other industry. That objective of that particular businessman is to beat his competition. Developer is not different. We look at architect for means to beat my competitor. Simple. So as long as the architect understands this, we are game.
Be little more responsible, and we're all selfish, but go a little beyond selfish and see what we can do for the, we are all stakeholders.
That's a great message. And what I feel here is that it is important that we do keep having these kind of thought processes, interactions, discussions. Like you said, Rahul, we learn from these experiences from each other, because going forward, we cannot just forget what we have had behind, because the only way to go forward correctly is to absorb and learn from what we have seen behind us. So thank you very much, and I hope you all enjoyed this as much, at least I did.